Today we're going to talk a little bit about a question that a lot of people ask me. And it's basically, well, the question is, why do bad things keep happening to me? Am I cursed? Do I have bad luck? Do I just have bad karma? Or is God picking on me? Or I don't believe there's a God because God would not let these things happen to me. You won't believe the trouble and the suffering I've had all the way through my life. Well, these are pretty valid questions. The short answer is this. You are here to learn something in this life. Your soul has purposely picked that life. That's right, where you are right now. Your gender, your nationality, where you were born in the world, and where you are right this moment. This whole idea of coming into the world and learning something is the purpose of the soul. It's your destiny or fate. It is also the exercising of your free will and free choice. And that can be summed up by saying, destiny is unchangeable, is it? How can that be if I have free will and free choice? If you were about to write a letter, let me use this example. You have the intention in your mind of what you're going to put in that letter, right? This is the destiny. There is an intention that you want to fulfill, you want to experience as a spiritual being coming into a physical body. How you determine the experience itself and come to go through that intention, that experience in the physical world, those lessons that are very important to your soul, whether they are pleasurable or painful, doesn't matter to the spiritual self. It's a destiny. It is a purpose to understand, to find out what it's like to be whatever you're going through in this world at this time. If that's the case, then you have the opportunity to use your free will to make those things happen. Like the letter, the intention of the letter is in your mind and you're trying to put it down on the paper. You get to freely choose the sentence structure, the paragraphs, the words, the adjectives, the adverbs, all the little bits that are necessary to write that letter, that book, if you will, that book of life. If this is but one breath in the life of the soul, by the way, and if the soul lives forever, then there's no need to hurry because you have a lot of lifetimes to experience to come to that full understanding of what it's like to be a spiritual being in a physical body and to go through all the experiences in the world until you come to that greater understanding that it's much better to be kinder and loving and more compassionate to people than it is to be anything else. So as you go through this life, why do bad things happen to you? Well, let's say that you're learning how to stop bad things from happening to you. Here's the thing you can say right away. No. That's right. Just say no. When people want to sell you something on the phone, you don't need to be intimidated by them. You don't need to be bullied by them. You just say, well, since you've asked me, that means I have the right to say yes or no. And I'm sorry, this doesn't interest me. So I'm going to have to say no. Thank you very much and goodbye. When somebody comes up to you in life and they are pressuring you to do something you don't want to do, you can say, just a minute. I'm going to love myself enough to say, I'm terribly sorry, but I cannot do this for you. I don't want to do this for you. No. And you leave or go away or you get out of the situation or circumstance. If you listen to people and they are bullying you, they are pressuring you, they are intimidating you, and they are trying to make you do something you don't want to do, innocently or not, this is your spiritual lesson. And you say to yourself, I love myself enough to say, no, I can't give up my weekend off. I have promised my wife and children, or my husband and children, or my parents, or my siblings, that I'm going to spend the weekend with them. I'm terribly sorry, but no, thank you. I cannot do this. Now, can you come to that point? Well, believe it or not, there are many people that cannot. People, telemarketers call people up, they bug them, they belittle them, they badger them until the person says okay and they send money. When this happens, it's not because you're foolish, it's not because you have a weak mind. It's because somewhere inside of you, you can't say no. Does that sound strange? Of course it does. But many of us, at some time in our life, including me, I've not been able to say no. I've answered phone calls to clients, letting my dinner go cold. I've given up my plans to help somebody else move their house because they needed help. Somewhere along the line, you have to say no and mean it and not go back or retreat from it. No matter what they plead or say or try to embarrass you or say you're a bad person or whatever the intimidation is, if they truly are your friend, they won't do that. And this is a key. If you see people that are doing that, they are attempting to pressure you, they are attempting to convince you or belittle you or to have you do something that they want them to do when you don't. These people are not your friends. They're bullies. These are people who are trying to use you. And here's the test. Many of us who've gone out and helped people on our day off move, okay, because they're our friends. When it comes time for you to move your house and you call up the very same people that you helped moved, I'll bet you several of them won't come to your help or aid. And that is a huge letdown. Making sure that you're appreciated for something is part of self-love and loving yourself to be prosperous and successful. When bad things happen to you, you say, just a minute, this has happened to me several times. What am I not doing correct? How do I get out of this? What do I need to do to correct this situation? Well, here's the short answer. Usually, the solution to stopping this bad thing from happening over and over again, and when it does happen 3 or more times, this is a karmic lesson. So you should be motivated to say, this is my karma, I got to pay attention here. I'm not a victim. There's nothing I can do about this. There is. And it usually is the last thing that you do not want to do, that you've been avoiding doing all this time. That is the solution. And before I get to some hints on that, whatever that solution is, I can guarantee you almost that when you do that one thing that you've dreaded, you've avoided, you did not want to do, to face up to this situation or circumstance that keeps coming back, this bad thing, it will never come back to you. Whether you handled it appropriately or not, once you handle it, instead of avoiding it and letting it happen again and again and again, it will never come back. Why is that? Well, being a spiritual lesson, you went through it and you found a solution. Whether it was the right one or the near right one, a near wrong one or the wrong one, at least you have handled the lesson. You either got a gold star or you got a check, or an X mark, I mean to say. Doesn't matter. You've handled it and you move on. But if you don't, and this is your spiritual karmic lesson, I can assure you it will keep coming up over and over and over again. And again, when you think back and you say, why is it I keep having problems with people? I try to help them, and then they keep coming to my house and wanting to borrow my hose, my shovel, my wheelbarrow, my gardening rake, and they keep breaking them. No matter where I live, it seems to be somebody in the neighborhood always comes up and picks on me for being that soft touch. That's when you have to say no and not feel guilty about it later. That's the other side of being able to say no. You say, no, this is my property. This is a lesson for me. And you can say to people, you know, when I lend stuff out to people, they bring it back broken. And so I have a little rule, and that is to say, you have a house, you're going to need a rake, so why don't you go down to the store and buy your own rake? Because this is my rake, this is my property, and I'm going to need it for myself. Of course, there are exceptions to that rule all the time. Being a good neighbor and helping somebody out once in a while is fine. But if you have that same problem where, let's say you're a landlord and you keep meeting people who are complaining to you all the time, ruining your property, not paying your rent on time, and you're trying to be a really nice person, and I don't mean to take sides here or sound like I'm being, hard-nosed, but you're a landlord. It's your responsibility to make those tenants pay the rent on time, keep your property in good stead, and to get along with everybody in the building. That's your responsibility as a landlord. It's their responsibility to live up to their responsibilities to you. And if you have the same problem over and over and over again, because you don't want to evict that person who's late paying rent, or you don't want to take that person down to the courthouse and say they owe me $500 because they smashed every window in the apartment, or whatever the case might be, then that problem, if it keeps coming back, then you have to say to yourself, okay, this is something I don't want to do. This is very difficult, but I've chosen to be a landlord and I have to play by the rules of renting property to somebody. And being a good landlord, you don't have to be mean or nasty, is to make sure the tenants respect you and are courteous to you, and you are the same to them. You don't overcharge them, you don't give them a place that you wouldn't want to live in, and you respect them and you give them courtesy. And so you get a back and forth. And when you have that, you have balance and you have a lesson learned. So whatever that lesson is, again, if it happens 3 or more times and you constantly are getting down in the dumps and you say to yourself, why me? Why are these bad things happening to me? Look for the solution as being the last thing you want to do. I have to go to the boss and complain about this big person who constantly steps on my toe, constantly spills coffee on me, constantly makes my life miserable. I have to do something about it, not just quit and run away. Running away just takes you to a new location with the same problems, by the way. So handle it. Stand up to the authority and don't be afraid. Don't take your life and put it in jeopardy or risk. If somebody is having a problem at school, your child, go to the school and speak up to the principal in a nice, courteous, and kind way, looking for a solution that your child, or your sibling for that matter, can find some peace at going to school. Look for the problem, attempt to identify that every time this comes up, you're getting the short end of the stick. But don't feel like a victim and don't think that you're jinxed or that you have some curse on you. It's a spiritual lesson. It's a life lesson on how to improve yourself by first, in this lesson, being able to say no. No, thank you. Not now. Since you've asked me, I could say yes or no. I choose to say no. I love myself enough to say, no, I can't do that. I'm terribly sorry for your problem, but I can't help you. And if you can, send them on down the street to somebody who can. But remember, you don't need to do that. Just say no, because you see, it's their problem, not yours. Until next time, this is Douglas James Cottrell speaking. I hope this has been helpful. Remember, my website is www.douglasjamescottrell.com, and I wish you all aspects of God, health, wealth, and peace of mind. And remember, faith is built upon belief, and belief is built upon evidence. Until next time, I wish you peace and prosperity. Bye-bye.